ABC24 This Week starts right now.
Hello, and thank you for joining us on ABC24 This Week. I am your host, Pepper Baker. You are here for the real stories behind the big stories, and I hope you'll continue to join us every Sunday at 9 a.m., 10:35 p.m., or by streaming 24+. Okay, ABC24 political analyst Otis Sanford is off today, so we have a new dynamic at the table. Sam Hardiman with the Daily Memphian taking Otis's seat. Shelby County Young Democrats chair, that's Catherine Winsley, and then Shelby County Young Republicans chair, Ann Elizabeth Metcalf. Thank you all so much for being here.
Yes, thank you for having us.
Perfect. All right, let's get to the topics here. We are devoting the first two segments to all things elections related. So first we'll talk about the Shelby County general election races. Then we'll play a game of what if, and that's making some primary predictions for the state and federal races. Lastly, we will discuss Shelby County commissioners approving $125 million in loans and whether that's common practice or a desperate attempt to cover reckless spending. Back to number one, Saturday, August 1st is the last day of early voting for the Shelby County general and state and federal primaries. Election day is August 6th. And by the time you see our next show, we will know who voters elected for county mayor, sheriff, clerk, commission, and some school board seats. Now, at the time of this recording, which is Thursday, the latest update from the Secretary of State's website and the Shelby County Election Commission had counted over 60,000 early and absentee votes. So, Sam, I'm going to have you lead it off for us. We're seeing over 60,000 turnout at this point. Does that give any indication of how that what election day we could expect there?
No.
Oh, short answer always with you. Okay, well, is it a promising start?
I don't know. I mean, it could be a promising start. It could show that there is great interest in this election, which clearly it matters. It really does matter to the future of Memphis and Shelby County. Or it could just be early voting is really convenient because you can go anywhere to vote. You don't need to go to your precinct. And you have all these days to do it. So you could do it on your way to work. And so maybe that's what people are doing because it's a partisan primary, maybe motivated to do it. And as we've seen on election day in the past, particularly in the May primary, kind of a meh.
Toss-up.
Meh.
Yeah, we are seeing also that right now Democrats are outvoting Republicans at this point. Just any other trends that you've seen over the years that maybe can lend a little more information of how these elections go?
I mean, I always keep in mind with these primaries, it's an open primary. You don't have to be a bona fide member of the party to pull a ballot. And so who's to say that, yeah, they're likely slightly more Democrats in Memphis and Shelby County, not probably slightly, more Democrats in Memphis and Shelby County than there are Republicans, but it's still the largest bastion of Republican voters is in this state, in this county. It's 1 in 10 roughly. And so I don't know. There could be Republicans that are honestly, who I elect as a Democrat matters more than the general.
Yeah, and we know total registered voters is somewhere between 550 to 600,000. So 50,000 or 60,000 of that is still not quite a lot. So, Catherine, I'm going to ask you here, what race are you watching closely, or what do you think, who do you think voters should which one should voters keep an eye on?
I think I would like to keep an eye on the sheriff's race, actually. I know this is a little shift, but it's important that we address the concerns at 201 Poplar. And I know the sheriff would be responsible, head person in charge to address these concerns. And so I'm looking at that race. I know it's been a little back and forth, a little commentary from both sides going on. It's been really interesting to see. And so, Pepper, I think it will be a race to watch, and I'm interested to see who comes out as the winner.
Okay, so I'm curious to know your thoughts about the argument around Chief Deputy Anthony Buckner, who's running as the Democratic nominee, already having been very ingrained in the sheriff's department there. You know, a lot of people might think that he's part of the problem. Or does he know how to fix the problem because he's been ingrained in law enforcement or sheriff's office?
Well, we have seen him rise into the ranks, but make no mistake about it, Sheriff Bonner was running that whole operation, and so it would be interesting to see when he takes place and when he's leading the charge, will he work collaboratively with the administration in order to properly address this concern? Because in this current one, we've seen our mayor and our sheriff go back and forth and say, oh, it's their concern or it's their concern. Well, what will it look like when they both come together and address this concern, which has to, because it's a humanitarian crisis at this point, and so we need leadership on all sides to come together, collaborate, and focus and find a solution. Because that's what the people deserve, is a solution towards these concerns.
Okay. And Elizabeth, what do you think stands out? And we know Republican Brad Less is the nominee. So what do you think stands out from his campaign for sheriff?
I think Brad Less ultimately is obviously the Republican candidate in our sheriff's race, and so he is really standing firm on being tough on crime and making sure that we are holding people accountable, that we are not letting people out of the jails super early and keeping them held to their bonds, and just ultimately making sure that our communities are safe and that people are here to be able to raise families and feel comfortable doing that. So.
Yeah, he's had that messaging for sure. So what other race are you kind of keeping a close eye on?
Yeah, I would say that we are definitely all hands behind Ed Apple in District 13. He is a very strong conservative. He is a lifelong Memphian. He truly, truly is for the working class, and he's been endorsed by the Workers' Labor Union. He's a great candidate, and he is door knocked locally with us. He's on the grounds and not afraid to shake people's hands and be in the community and do what's best for our communities. And so, yeah, I would definitely say at Apple, and that's kind of where I'm watching that race for sure.
Now, you're talking commission at this point. Yeah, we haven't really touched too much on commission. So, Sam, I'll ask you here, the dynamic of the commission coming in. Like, how will it change? What's at stake for this governing body?
I mean, we're going to see, many new members. We're going to see a new county mayor. And so we're going to get a dynamic that has been, Catherine mentioned it a few minutes ago with the county mayor and the sheriff, but I would argue the county commission and the mayor, at least parts of the county commission and the mayor, they've been at loggerheads too. And to back up about two on Poplar, it's a solution. Whomever gets elected, they're going to have to go find $1 billion because that's what it's going to cost for a new jail. And whether or not it can be revamped or that's not for me to say, but we're talking about in terms of capital needs for Memphis and Shelby County, whomever gets elected, we got probably $1 billion for new jail. You got all the deferred maintenance for Memphis and Shelby County schools, okay? You have all of that. You have a juvenile court that maybe needs to be replaced. It's a lot of government bonds that need to be issued, and those need to be paid for by revenue, and you have a county that is flat in terms of population, and you have an economy that is struggling with inflation nationwide, not just Memphis and Shelby County. So. Everybody just buckle up and get your pencils ready. That's what I'd say.
I am happy you touched on commission, but we're running close to time now. I want to know who you all think out of the sheriff, county mayor, and the clerk's office, which one has the most likelihood of flipping red? Because those are all Democrat right now.
Yeah. I think our mayor race is definitely one to watch. DeBerry is an individual who has a very compelling story. He's captivating. He has relationships in Nashville and cares about the Memphis community. So he knows how to advocate for us here at a local level, but at the state level as well. Yeah, I would definitely say keep your eyes out for DeBerry, and he is here for the people. He hasn't raised as much money as his opponent, but he is on the grounds, he's grassroots, and he truly, truly cares about the communities and the safety and education of Memphis.
So, Catherine, who do you think will have the tightest race?
Well, the tightest race, oh gosh. I feel like, honestly, I'm locked in on my Democratic ticket. I'm 10 toes down with my candidates, and we are all supporting them. I think they have a tough task ahead, no matter the role, but absolutely it will be close. I think what might be contentious is the clerk's race, because that office has seen a lot of tension there with trying to get the operation working, and Sam touched on it a bit. That's a revenue stream, the clerk's office, and so who will rise above the fray in order to make sure that we're getting that revenue in order to make payroll at Shelby County or to give the services to the people.
Okay, great commentary there, y'all. Good start here. When we come back, we're going to talk about state and federal primaries.
That math all makes sense to me.
Weekdays at 9 on ABC24 Memphis.
All right, so August 6th is also the state and federal primary. So for this segment, we are going to make some primary predictions by playing a game of what if. It's all hypotheticals on how each frontrunner or Memphis candidate would stack up against the other party's potential nominee. So with Tennessee's new congressional map, Shelby County is now split into 3 districts, 5, 8, and 9. So let's start with Congressional District 5. What if Democratic Columbia Mayor Chaz Mulder is up against Republican incumbent Representative Andy Ogles? And Elizabeth, I'll start with you. What happens here?
Yeah, so Mulder definitely has solid grounds. He's raised a lot of money in this particular campaign, but Ogles has the front running. And when it comes to statewide races like this, the Republican's going to have the lead. And so Ogles will more than likely take that seat once again.
Okay, yeah, the incumbent typically has an advantage, but a lot of people have been talking about the controversies with Ogles. So,
yeah,
Catherine, I'll toss it to you.
There.
And that's been interesting to me because I've seen the videos from Nashville and stuff. And my thing is, if you're struggling in Nashville, how are you going to do here in Memphis? Because that's going to be a hard time for you, friend. And so I believe that Chaz Mulder has a good, solid chance too as well. But however, it's going to take some coalition building across both urban and rural markets in order to get people really out to vote. And so we have a turnout issue here in Shelby County. So you just can't count on the vote in Columbia or Memphis to just do what it do. But it's not. You have to really get out there to both urban and rural voters and convince them like, hey, I'm your guy. Let's take it to Capitol Hill.
Yeah, definitely. Good points there. Sam, what do you think has been resonating with voters in both of these campaigns?
Well, I mean, I think it was an interesting phrase that Ann Elizabeth brought up a few minutes ago, which is affordability, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, if I'm a normal human, I think right now, not us sitting here, respectfully to us, we're not normal. I care about what's going in my gas tank. I care about food on the table. I care about healthcare. Many of these things Congress really doesn't do a heck of a lot with. I mean, there's a lot that gets told to voters this time of year that, respectfully, the office you're electing really doesn't have anything to do. Mm-hmm. And so that, but I think that's what's resonating with people because people are weary of war and they're weary of high prices. That's what I would say general Memphians and Americans are right now.
Yeah, definitely. Let's keep it going for the interest of time. So let's say if Chaz Mulder was up against Dr. Charlie Hatcher, who was a former Tennessee agricultural head or commissioner, and we're seeing him gain some ground against Ogles as of late. So, Sam, I'll start out with you on this one. Is there a chance that Charlie Hatcher can make it out of the primary one, and then would Chaz Mulder fare better?
I don't know if I'm qualified.
That's
here
fair. You are a journalist.
To be honest, but what I would say is what I'm really intrigued by in this test round of the 3 split seats is what is we have these projections that there are +5, are +7, +8, somewhere in there, 5 and 10 percentage points for Republicans, and they favor. I wouldn't be surprised if we see a couple that are 7, 8 percentage points, and that would be interesting to me because that means if you're Democrats, you have 2 years. Go figure it out. You got some areas that you can maybe poke at. And then it would just be interesting in the purpler Shelby precincts, not the dedicated blue areas in the middle of the city, but purpler as you get towards the burbs. Where are you, and can you run up some scores? If you're a Democrat or a Republican, are there strengths that Republicans still have there? That's what I really want to watch.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, we have to keep it moving here. We do have Hatcher versus Yolanda Cooper-Sutton, who's a Memphis City Councilwoman. So let's say this was the proposed matchup. So, Catherine, do you think this would fare better or maybe even out the game a little?
Well, I think Cooper-Sutton's her last race was very interesting because I feel like she came from the back of the pack in order to win this race that she ran for the Memphis City Council. So I think I wouldn't count her out, but also I wouldn't count out Carrie. She's a name that's being announced around the grassroots area of Memphis and stuff. Both ladies are from Memphis. I think they both fare well, but they're going to have a hard time granting some groundswell in the whole entire of District 5. And so that's going to be a race to watch for everyone on both sides.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, let's move on to District 8. Kustoff versus Heidi Kuhn we had here. So Heidi Kuhn is coming off of her county mayoral run in the primary, and then now she's taking a shot at Congress. Kustoff is a strong lead here, though. Ann Elizabeth, do you think that there's any room for Heidi Kuhn or any of the Democratic candidates to, maybe make it a little tight?
I don't. I think Kostov has, he's the incumbent. He's been there for 17 years or so, I believe. And he's an individual that has a strong name for himself. He's got a lot of support across the state, and has his upcoming cookout this weekend that I know is going to be driving hundreds of people and lots of fundraising behind it as well. And so I think he definitely has the grounds, and from his past experiences, he will win this seat once again.
Yeah, I don't want to spend too much time on this one because I think we need to get to District 9, and that's the one that a lot of people have been talking about. Let's start with Pearson, Justin J. Pearson, state rep, Democrat, versus, let's say, hypothetically, state senator, Republican Brent Taylor. So, Catherine, I want you to take the lead on this one. How do you think that would play out?
Oh, it will be a battle to the end of it. I don't want to say I would love to see it, but man, it would be mind-blowing to see these two go at it. And so I believe that both of them can galvanize their sides to get it going. I believe that both of them have been out into not just Shelby County, but in rural areas too. And so we will really see a match to the end, but I like my Pearsons, and so I'm going to go with them for the win.
Sam, when you talk about, go ahead.
No, yeah, I think this is interesting. I'll post the both of you. In the sense of, I do not doubt Representative Pearson's name ID, his fundraising. These are all very clear things that can be measured. But if I'm Brent Taylor, don't I want Justin Pearson? Don't I want the argument that, hey, here's this, quote, radical? I'm not calling him a radical. I'm saying, but isn't that the label I get to throw? When if it's London Lamar, that's a working mother. I'm going to look worse calling her names. And, it's not the same sort of labels that you get to throw. And so I think that's an interesting thing in a district that's very slated towards Taylor still. Even as interesting as that race would be, which, as a journalist, I would love watching their Twitters all day. It'd be so fun for me. I think that really doesn't Taylor kind of want Pearson in that regard.
Yeah, and Elizabeth, I'm curious and we can show a little bit of London Lamar and the matchup with Brent Taylor as well. What do you think, any moderate Republicans who may be upset with congressional redistricting or the way that Republican rhetoric is going right now, who may look to go across the aisle, do you think that London Lamar would be more of a choice for that, or Pearson?
I think in that scenario, it would definitely probably be Lamar if we're talking about moderates. Pearson has a lot of young progressive following, and he has a lot of support from the young, progressive side. However, I feel like if there was a moderate that is leaning away from, say, Taylor in this scenario, maybe they would lean towards Lamar over Pearson. But I think Brent Taylor definitely has a ground game and has a strong presence. So in this scenario as well, he would probably still win.
Yeah, and in the interest of time, we didn't get to the governor's race, but I want to ask just how you all think the independent vote will play here for all of these congressional districts, especially because independents don't come in to play until November anyway. But will they take away from both sides, or will you see more of them leaning into Republican or Democrats?
I was talking,
Yeah,
we were
anybody
talking
can
about
take it.
this in the lobby a little bit, and I feel like independents or moderates are, there's a lot of times where both sides agree more than we really know, and we just don't talk about them. And a lot of times independents, moderates, they might have more of a fiscal conservative viewpoint, but a socially liberal, progressive viewpoint. And so I feel like from both sides of the aisle, those are the people that we need to knock doors and get out to vote and see who we win. But I definitely think that either way, our independents voters are ones that should be targeted, and both candidates on the aisle should be looking at them to try to get out the vote to win them over.
Yeah, that's that persuasive block to where it could go either way.
Yeah.
And I think what would be really interesting would be to see a London Lamar in that space, to see, can you turn over voters? Can you bring them to our side? Can you say, hey, I'm a mom, I get what you're going through, yes, we can make it happen. But I don't think that independents are making enough of a splash. They're relying on things like social media in order to do their campaigning. But us in the campaign world know that you have to knock doors, you gotta go speak, you gotta hit the churches, you gotta make the rounds, you gotta hit all 95 counties if you think you're going to make a splash as an independent. So I want to see more independents be outside with the people. So
Okay,
yes.
Well, good on that. We could have kept going on that one, but we got to
That's
keep it
a
moving.
deep pocket.
Yeah, definitely. All right, when we come back, we're going to talk about Shelby County Commissioners approving $125 million loan for the county.
I said no whammies.
Press Your Luck Thursday on ABC and stream on Hulu.
This week, Shelby County Commissioners approved a plan to secure up to $125 million in short-term loans to help keep the county operating through the start of fiscal year 2027. During Monday's meeting, commissioners voted to authorize the request, which would help cover already approved expenses like employee payroll, public safety, and other county services. Now, under the plan, $25 million would come from an existing county debt service fund, while the remaining $100 million would come from an external bank loan. County documents warn that the government could run out of cash without the loan. The request now heads to the state of Tennessee, which must give final approval before the money can be issued. I'm going to go ahead and send it over to Sam right now. So this has to do also with covering costs until those property tax, the 2-cent increase kicks in. Is that correct?
Well, just until people pay their property taxes. The Shelby County property taxes are not due until December and February, depending on what. And so that is really the problem, is that the county over time has always had this issue of you have essentially flat expenses month by month. They're pretty similar every month if you look at what the county's spending, but they have very lumpy revenue. It comes in December, January, February. And so they've always been in this position where they're sort of drawing down the bank account and then they're flush for the rest of the year when they get all that money. However, when you don't have a fund balance, which is your rainy day fund, in our case it'd be a savings account. Right. When you've run that down and you don't have enough money to like pull it down, you then have to go take this loan. And so this reflects sort of, the county hasn't grown. Shelby County over the tenure of Lee Harris has not grown. It is a flat, and so we're seeing flat sales tax. We're seeing relatively flat property tax despite appreciation of values. And so all those things add up here. It's not just, quote, reckless spending. We can't really determine whether the spending is, quote, reckless. It's much more, does the new county commission and the new county mayor, whoever that is, figure out, do we make people pay their property taxes sooner so we don't have to borrow money in the future? Because interest expense is still interest expense. Right. We're paying Regions Bank, we the taxpayer, are going to pay for this loan.
And Elizabeth, so speaking of whoever the next county mayor is, John DeBerry, the Republican nominee, had a statement that he posted shortly after this happened. And part of it said, borrowing for long-term infrastructure that benefits future generations is one thing. Borrowing to keep the lights on is a warning sign that our county's finances are headed in the wrong direction. So I want to ask your thoughts on this, about what a new leader will need to do to kind of smooth this out.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's easy to point fingers at a county mayor for being the problem for this, but ultimately it comes down to a lot of elected officials or commissioners as well. And so in that sense, obviously we need to vote Republican. But when it comes to that, I think, ultimately we need to be looking at what we're spending. We need to be looking and reevaluating, how many vacant buildings do we have that we're continuing to operate, and how many things are we putting into our communities that aren't showing and giving benefit to our communities of like residents that are paying these tax dollars. I mean, this is tax dollar money, and
no, you're fine.
Okay.
You're okay. I think your mic did kind of cut out. So, Catherine, we only have 90 seconds left anyway. So, Catherine, and you were making such a good point. Great job. No, you're fine. Catherine, last point on this, though. Mikkel Lowry is a commissioner, and a lot of people, I saw a post on Facebook that people were like, don't give more of the same. So do you think, again, is he part of the problem, or can he fix the problem?
I believe that Commissioner Lowry, at the end of the day, he's an executive. He comes from a business world. And so you want to put an executive in place who understands budgets and who can execute budgets, but who can also learn how to pull back a little bit where it's needed in order to keep the government afloat, so that we're addressing the needs of the people, but we're also delivering the services that the people need to as well. So you put an executive in charge, you elect an executive, and you elect Mikkel Lowry.
Okay, look at that. Well, we will see that next week. So by the time of our next show, we will know who has won that seat. Sam, Catherine, and Elizabeth, thank you all so much for being here. This was a great conversation, and it gave a different perspective of what the young, politically astute minds are thinking in Shelby County. Thank you for watching ABC 24 this week. We hope you'll join us next week for ABC 24 This Week.